Not on the board, please make sure you are muted. And this meeting is recorded. So everybody's aware of that. I think you need to accept it. So my name is Mike Panessa. Good evening, everyone. I hereby call the regular meeting of the Administrative Appeals Board of October 26, 2022 to order. Board Secretary, could you please conduct a roll call?
Board Member Basili.
Here.
Board Member Hedrick.
Here.
Board Member Stephen Moses.
Here.
Board Member Sinclair.
Here.
Vice Chair Jocelyn Kane.
Here.
And Chair Michael Panessa.
Here. All right, thank you. First item on the agenda is the acceptance of the agenda. The board can discuss and may amend the order of the agenda, and I'd like to entertain a motion and a second of acceptance of the agenda.
So moved.
I'll second.
Thank you. Board Secretary, could you please take the vote?
Board Member Moses.
Aye.
Board Member Basili.
Aye.
I'm sorry. Board Member Sinclair.
Aye.
Vice Chair Jocelyn.
Aye.
Board Member Hedrick.
I'm not voting, but
Okay.
aye.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're right. And Chair Michael Panessa.
Aye.
So moved 5-0.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is time set aside for public comment. This time is set aside for members of the public to address the board on items of general interest, within the subject matter jurisdiction of the board. 3 minutes will be assigned to each speaker. Although the board values your comments, pursuant to the Brown Act, the board generally cannot take any action on any item not listed on the posted agenda. Testimony for the hearings will only be taken at the time of that particular hearing. Board Secretary, can you start the public comment period?
We have no registered speakers tonight, but if there's anyone in the room who would like to provide public comment, please raise your hand or start speaking. I see no hands raised.
Great. All right, we will move on to our first case. The next item on the agenda, item number 3, is an appeal of the permanent ban and administrative fine of $5,000 concerning Danny Ortiz and the property at 3282 North Mountain Shadow Drive. Board Secretary, please ensure that the city staff and the appellant understand that their testimony is under oath.
City staff, appellants, and any other individual who desires to testify under this appeal hearing, under the laws of perjury, if you choose to speak, you hereby accept and acknowledge that your testimony shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Do I unmute now?
Now, not yet, please. So at this point, if the city staff would like to present their report.
Thank you, Chair. My name is Mitch Nabhat. I'm a co-compliance supervisor for the City of Palm Springs that oversees vacation rental enforcement program. I'm subbing in for Patrick tonight. Before you tonight is the appeal of an administrative citation that was issued for $5,000, as well as the permanent ineligibility of the property owner of 3282 North Mountain Shadow Drive for a violation of PSMC 525-040A, operating a vacation rental property without a valid vacation rental certificate. I was also the officer that issued the citation, so the details leading up to the issuance of the citation are as follows. On Monday, June 13th, 2022, I received a tip via community lead about a property that appeared to be operating as a vacation rental property without first having obtained a vacation rental certificate. Upon investigation of the information received, I was able to locate an advertisement on the booking platform Airbnb.com for the reported address, which matched the pictures at 3282 North Mountain Shadow Drive, hosted by Danny. That was advertising short-term stays with a 2-night minimum, and that's seen as attachment number 6 in your packet. I then sent an inquiry to the host of the ad requesting to book a short-term stay beginning September 1st through September 5th, as seen in attachment 7. The host responded to my unique request, as seen in the invitation, and sent me an invitation to book, facilitating my request for a short-term stay. It was at that time that I drafted citation AB 0395 to the owner on title, Danny Ortiz, for the violation of 525-040A. And then a couple things to point out that are included in your staff packet. This property had applied for a vacation rental certificate, and that was received by the Office of Special Programs on May 19th. On June 9th, there was a safety inspection that was conducted by one of our enforcement officials. The results of that inspection was a failed inspection. There was a corrective inspection also completed on June 20th, 2022. That was also resulted in a failed safety inspection, and those are all included within the staff packet. And the important thing to note is that there was messages included in each of those, which kind of highlighted the fact that new applicants should not advertise or rent your property short-term until you have received written authorization from the Department of Special Program Compliance. Making sure I have everything. So at this time, that'll conclude what I have to present, but I'm available to the board for any questions that you may have. Thanks.
All right, thank you. At this time, we'll open it to the board to ask questions of city staff. Why don't we start with Mr. Moses?
I have no questions.
Mr. Basili?
Sorry, no questions.
All right, thank you. Mr. Hedrick?
No questions.
Vice Chair Kane?
No.
And Mr. Sinclair?
Nothing.
Okay. I just have one, Officer Nahab. Can you, sorry, I always say your name wrong and I apologize.
Officer Mitch is fine.
All right, thank you. Can you read to us what is in those messages that you send that tell that whoever the person is not to advertise or rent until they have a permit?
Sure thing. Let me just pull it up here. I believe it is included as attachment number 5. So if you notice on the, I think it's the, try and pull it up here.
So I'm looking at attachment 5.
So I believe the message says it's an important message for new applicants. Do not advertise or rent your property short term until you've received written authorization from the Department of Special Program Compliance. And that is
on page 3 of attachment.
Yeah, actually page 4 of attachment 5. It's under the heading of inspector notes.
Yes, yeah.
And it reads exactly what you just read.
correct.
All right, thank you. I have no further questions. Anything else from the city?
Nothing else from us.
All right, thank you. At this time, I'd like to open the appeal hearing. The appellant is invited to speak for up to 10 minutes. Any member of the public who desires to speak on this appeal hearing shall have up to 3 minutes. If a member of the public chooses to testify, the appellant will be invited to provide a rebuttal for up to an additional 2 minutes. Board Secretary, can you please begin the public testimony period?
I don't see that we have any registered speakers, but I do believe that the appellant is present. If so, please unmute yourself, state your name, and you can begin your testimony.
Hello, yeah, my name is Danny Ortiz. I'm the owner for the 3282 North Mountain Shadow Drive property.
Thank you. As a reminder, you are under oath, but you can begin your testimony. You have 10 minutes.
Okay, yeah, I like the inspector says, I met with Inspector Williams, and he did fail me on 6/9/22 for not having closet doors in the closet area. So I rescheduled for another inspection, which was on 6/27/22, and that was when he gave me the final inspection, and I passed. And that's when I was informed that I was not able to advertisement for the properties for short-term rentals. And as soon as he told me that, then I deleted and canceled all the app for the Airbnb. And I also had issues. I sent the paperwork for when I was doing my pool. I was short on funds, so I couldn't rent the properties because of I had problems with the equipment. It wouldn't pass the equipment. So finally, I was able to buy the whole new equipment for the pool. And then I got my final inspection from the city of Palm Springs on 9/22/22 for the pool, which, I then knew I had to wait for the short-term people to give me the permit first. So from then I deleted everything, so I wasn't taking no short-term people. Yeah, I guess that would be my case.
Mr. Ortiz, anything further?
No, sir. No, sir.
Okay, you do have more time, and so we don't want to rush you if you have anything further you want to add.
No, that's it. I just you make sure that you guys get the copies of the paperwork I sent of the final inspection for the pool that was finalized on September 22.
All right, thank you. So at this point, if there's nothing more from the appellant, does the city have anything to rebut any of what the appellant has added?
The city doesn't have anything further.
All right, thank you. So then at this point, we will open it up for discussion from the board. And why don't we go in reverse order? Mr. Sinclair? Thoughts?
I have no discussion. I mean, yeah, I don't have anything. Well, the one question would be, has the permit ever been issued? Mitch?
No, so once the property owner was found to be advertising short-term stays, their application process was put on hold pending the results of this appeal.
Did they ever say why they advertised before they got the permit?
No.
That's all I have.
Thank you. Vice Chair Kane?
Well, I mean, I think that's the point to the applicant, like, do you understand why you got a citation?
Yeah, you know what? Like I said, as soon as Inspector Williams told me that I wasn't I'm not able to advertise after he did the final inspection and passed me, I was aware. Then I told him, you know what? I did it. I had it on Airbnb, but I'm gonna cancel it. So after that, like I said, we had it, but we had no bookings because of the pool. Also, it wasn't finished, so we couldn't take people in until like I said, I got the funds, and I got the final permit for the pool on September 22, which also people weren't gonna take it because the pool wasn't ready.
Yeah, it's just unfortunate because the ordinance in Palm Springs is so strict and it is very serious just to even advertise, even if you didn't rent it to anybody. And we're in a bad position because we have to stick with the ordinance as it's written. So
Right.
that's all I got.
Thank you.
I'm sorry.
Mr. Hedrick?
No comments, sir.
Okay, Mr. Basili?
No questions.
And Mr. Moses?
No questions.
So for me, it was, we've been down this road so many times. And unfortunately, the appellant has said that he had an ad up. And the ordinance is pretty clear that the city views advertising as operating, whether they took a reservation or not. So it seems to me that it's a pretty cut and dry from our perspective. If nobody else on the board has any other comments or discussion points, I'd like to entertain a motion and a second, please.
I make a motion to adopt the resolution proposed by the city.
Second,
Board Secretary, could you please call a vote?
Board Member Moses,
Aye.
Board Member Sinclair,
aye.
Board Member Basili,
Aye.
Vice Chair Kane,
Aye.
and Chair Panessa.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
All right, Mr. Ortiz. So the board has upheld the ban and the fine. You will get an official notification from the city. And I want to thank everyone for their time and effort on this case. We are going to now move on to the next case. Item number 4.
Sorry, just a quick, so if, do I have to pay the $5,000?
Yes.
Okay. So, and then, would you guys allow me to continue after I pay the citation?
No. So that's what just happened was the board listened to the city's testimony, listened to your testimony. The board upheld both the fine and the ban. So like I said, you will get an official notification from the city, but you will not be allowed to do short-term rental. That does not prevent you from doing long-term by the city's definition, which is over 28 days.
There's no chance in appealing or nothing?
Yeah, you just completed an appeal.
Oh, that's it.
You can appeal to the city council.
I could appeal.
No, we can't.
No, that's not true. That is
That's
not
not
true. If
That's
you
what I-
want to appeal it further, you're actually appealing it to the courts.
Okay.
I apologize.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Ortiz.
Thank
All
you,
right,
guys.
we're going to move on to item number 4, and that's concerning the property at 483 East Santiago Way, and with an appeal of the $5,000 fine and administrative decision that Richard Langley is permanently ineligible to operate a vacation rental in the city of Palm Springs. Board Secretary, can you please ensure that the city staff and the appellant understand that their testimony is under oath?
City staff, appellants, and any other individual who desires to testify under this appeal hearing, under the laws of perjury, if you choose to speak, you hereby accept and acknowledge that your testimony shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Please begin your testimony by stating your name.
All right, we're going to start at the city. If you want to present your report, please.
All right, thank you, Chair. Good evening, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the board. My name is Mitch Navpan. I'm the Code Compliance Supervisor that oversees the Vacation Rental Enforcement Program. Before you tonight is the appeal of an administrative citation that was issued for $5,000, as well as the permanent ineligibility of the property owner of 483 East Santiago Way for violation of PSMC 525-040A, operating a vacation rental property without a vacation rental registration certificate. This came to us via a complaint received for loud music that was submitted via the vacation rental hotline. Officer Christy Smith, who's joining us here on the call, was the primary enforcement officer on at the time and was dispatched out to respond. At this time, I'd like to invite Officer Smith in and present the details related to her findings.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I'm Christy Smith. I'm co-compliance officer for the city of Palm Springs. On September 17th, we got a call for music at 483 East Santiago. I arrived at the property around 12 p.m. I noted that this is not a vacation rental, but from the front of the property, we heard music beyond the property lines. We tried to contact the occupants, but we were unable to hear us out the door. Since the music was really loud and it became a code issue, I still tried to make contact. We went around to the back of the property because it was on a golf course and contacted the occupants. Went over the rules with them about music. Asked them if they were renting the property and they said that they were renting. I was then able to get a copy of the contract and a receipt from the responsible renter. I then went back to the office and searched on Airbnb and was able to find a listing online. I then issued citation AB 409 for renting without a VR certificate. This concludes my presentation and I'm available for any questions.
All right, anything further from the city?
Nothing further from us. Thanks.
All right, thank you. Any questions? This time is for questions from the board to the city. Let's start with Mr. Moses.
No questions.
Mr. Basili,
No questions.
Mr. Hedrick,
No questions.
Vice Chair Kane.
Yeah, Mitch, is this in a country club? Is this in a gated community?
No, it's not.
Oh, sorry.
Correct.
It's
No,
no-
it's kind of towards the south part of town, not in an HOA or any gated community.
Okay, so there isn't an HOA. Okay, thanks.
Mr. Sinclair.
Nothing here.
So I have a question. So Officer Smith, so you said that, I just want to make sure I understood this clearly. The music was so loud that that when you, I assume, knocked on the door, they couldn't hear you, or just they didn't respond?
I don't know if it was too loud, because we could hear music, but it's a big property. So they weren't able to hear us, whether they were all outside or the music was too loud. I don't know 100%, but from the neighboring property, that the property owner gave us access to the property, and they were well over the decibel levels for that time of day, just for a normal code. So we did, since it was on a golf course, go to the back of the property, because whether it was a vacation rental or not, we were going to have to ask them to lower the music if it was just a normal owner property, which we didn't know at the time. And then when I did make contact with them from the golf course, I had asked them if they were renting, and they had said yes.
Okay. And then just one other question, as the, when you did make contact with the renters and they gave you a copy of the rental agreement, had they been told anything, or did they tell you they'd been told about any of the short-term rental rules?
They didn't know anything, but I went over all the rules, because at that time they're not under contract like vacation rentals, but did ask them to turn the music down, because they still have to go by the code rules for the city, and they have to be within a certain decibel level for that time of day.
Okay, and this was, I think you said at midnight?
No, at noon, 12.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Okay, I had no further questions. Anything else from the board for the city? All right, so at this point then, I'd like to open up the appeal hearing. The appellant will be invited to speak for up to 10 minutes. Any member of the public who desires to speak on this appeal hearing shall have up to 3 minutes to speak. If a member of the public chooses to testify, the appellant will be invited to provide a rebuttal for up to 2 additional minutes. Board Secretary, can you begin the public testimony period?
If the appellant is present, you may unmute yourself and begin your testimony. As a reminder, you're under oath and have 10 minutes to provide your statement. You may begin.
Hello, thank you for your time this evening as well. I'd like to start by saying I've owned this house since 1996, and I am opposed to renting my house on any level. I had to take a job out of the country because of COVID and have actually recently filed bankruptcy over this issue and was not aware that my partner was even putting the house on Airbnb. I have my personal artwork there in my home, everything there. And I found out about this when my lawyer here called and said, you got a letter from the city. What are you doing with your house in Palm Springs? So that's how that all happened. I've never been interested in renting my house, and it's a personal spot for me that I bought my first house when I was 31 years old. So since then, we took the house off. We went down there, met with the people at the city, got a list of everything that needed to be done to put it on. I've probably spent about $15,000 updating some electrical and putting alarms on the doors and all the stuff that are necessary to pass the permit. And we're waiting for the first inspection. But I think that's what I would like to state is I wasn't even aware my house was on there. And it caused quite a ruckus in my home, as you can imagine. But we've worked through that on a personal level, and we have complied with the city at this point. I think everything is copacetic with what needs to be done to have it as a vacation rental. And I would ask the city to, I know ignorance is no excuse of the law, but I am telling you this under oath, and I was not aware of it. And they did not have permission to put my house on the internet. I don't like my personal stuff out there. I'm a very private person. And since it is out there, I have gone through the process and complied with various rules, from fire hydrants to putting door alarms back on all the doors for the pools and everything that's necessary. I keep my house impeccable as it is anyways. But I would apologize for any loud music. That's rude and not acceptable. I've been in that neighborhood since 1996. And I would ask for some leniency that give me a chance now that it is out there to get my act together. And we do need to have the funds. I've had the house my whole life. I don't want to lose it because I can't earn funds on it. And COVID just wiped out my company. I import cosmetics from overseas, and I just last month received last year's distribution, which literally caused me to personally file bankruptcy last month. So it's been a very big burden on me dealing with all of this. And I appreciate my partner actually trying to help, but I think nobody ever had an idea you needed to go through a process like this. So we certainly would have. So that would be my position. I just told him.
Anything else, Mr. Langley? Again, you still have more time, so we don't want to rush.
No, I think I've got it all. We've, like I said, since then we've been down. We met with the people in front of the museum. We hired handyman. I spent about 15 grand getting everything updated, and I can't imagine that we wouldn't pass the inspection with flying colors at this point. And I hope that I can get some leniency with this because we certainly need the income. I don't want to lose my house over COVID, and that's the position it's put me in.
All right, thank you. Does the city have anything to add?
So just to add, as far as the application submittal, so at the time that this property was discovered as operating as a vacation rental, there wasn't an application on file. And as you can see, this wasn't the case where there was an inquiry and request to book, or an application was on file and they had already completed their safety inspection. This we received a receipt that this property was operating and taking short-term stays. And I believe that's included as attachment number, the advertisement's attachment 5, and then the receipt that we had obtained from the renters was included, I believe, as attachment number 8 or number 7, which is, I think it's page 32 on the staff report that I'm looking at. But that would be, that would just be all for the city to add.
I was actually the one that, I'm Rick's partner. I was the one who put the listing up, and that was actually our first rental. And I just, again, to be honest, I had no idea that you needed to go through this process. I was actually just trying to help, and it's under my an Airbnb account that I created. And that was the first and only rental that we've had. And since then, I've taken the listing down and we've gone through all the proper paperwork and have submitted that. But that was the first and only rental we had. I think I listed the property maybe a few days prior to that. I know we can't say about ignorance, but I really didn't know that was the process that you had to take. And like I said, since then I've submitted all of the paperwork and done that, but that was the first and only rental that we've ever had at the house.
All right, thank you. Officer Mitch, I have one question for you. So did you say a permit application was turned in? And if it was, on what date?
So it was not. So we did not receive, at the time the citation was issued and up until now, which I checked with office staff to see if we had received an application, and no application was on file that had been turned into the city.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Well, I turned all the paperwork in after we got the citation and we're aware of it. And we went down and met with the city actually and sent checks in and all kinds of stuff about a month ago, I would say.
So you're saying you turned in an application in?
We even met with the people.
David, I think.
David, I think's his name.
It's at the museum, and we paid. There were 2 different checks that you had to drop off, one for 1,000 and something and another one for the processing. It's at the police station or something. There's a gentleman, David, and a blonde woman that work there. We were just down there
3 weeks ago.
3 weeks ago, and we submitted it.
So
Yeah,
Chair Podesta, if I could, so I'm hearing from staff that it looks like we received an application on October 17th. However, because the citation was issued, we are holding it and not processing it pending the results of this hearing. So it looks like the application, a completed application was received, what would have been 2 weeks ago.
All right,
Yeah.
thank you.
We sent it in within
further,
a week
so-
of getting the citation.
Okay, so, all right, I have nothing further. So at this point, we'll close the public testimony and time for if the board has any questions for the appellant. Why don't we start with Mr. Moses?
Yeah, I have a couple of questions. I didn't get the name of the gentleman who was your partner. Is he on title? Is he a co-owner of the property?
No, he's not.
And did he have your authority to make a short-term rental?
No, I would never rent my house out. It wasn't ready. There's personal stuff there. I've got collective art I've collected through the years. I've got stuff my grandmother left me when she died. I would never rent my house out we literally went down, and I've got to have hernia surgery now from getting the house ready. So it literally was not ready to be put on a market.
My second question is, you mentioned bankruptcy. Have you filed for bankruptcy at this point?
Yeah, I filed 3 weeks ago, unfortunately, at 59 years old. So COVID wiped me out.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I make all my product in Asia. I just landed Walmart. Everything was straight up. I had an IPO on the books, and I literally just got my product maybe 6 weeks ago. That was supposed to be here November 17th last year.
Wow.
And it was, and I wrongfully was trying to help, and I made things worse.
Yeah, almost caused a divorce in the family, but we got through it. But it's been beyond bad. So,
Sorry.
and that's my love. I love that house. It was the first house I ever bought.
Anything further, Mr. Moses?
Thank you. No further questions.
Thank you. Mr. Basili?
No questions.
Mr. Hedrick?
Mr. Langley, are you and John married?
No,
Or registered as a domestic partner?
no.
So the question, I guess, is whether that was an unauthorized rental and the owner, is the owner responsible in that case? I'll just throw that out.
If I could, let's say that because I think your question is for actually Ms. Tremblay. Let's hold that until after we ask questions of the appellant. Is that all right, Mr. Hedrick?
Absolutely.
All right, to you. But we'll definitely come back to it. Vice Chair Kane? Nothing? Okay, and Mr. Sinclair?
I would ask if your partner was legally living there when you weren't there. Is that correct or not?
No, he doesn't live there. He lives in LA and I've been living overseas. I have a business in Turks and Caicos Islands, so I wasn't even in the country. I bought the house in 1996 and probably spent the most time there. I lived there during COVID. But I was literally overseas trying to keep my shit together, to be honest with you, and trying to hold the company together. And my lawyer called and said, we just got a letter from the city. Do you have any idea what this is about? And I said, I have no idea. And then I found out that my house had been put up for Airbnb.
On that one rental, did you ever pay the transient occupancy tax?
I'm sorry, what?
Did you pay the transient occupancy tax for the one rental?
Transient occupancy tax for the one rental.
There's a
I don't
tax
know.
on when you rent your property.
We haven't been approved to be a rental yet. So if we get it, I'll get it.
I mean, on the one that you did rent, obviously money changed hands, correct?
couldn't answer the question, to be honest with you. The money didn't come through me, so I don't know.
Well, let's ask your partner, did you get the money?
The money was, I think the money was deposited, but we have not done our quarterly taxes or anything like that. So we haven't, I mean, that was just a few weeks ago.
But my question was, there's a tax on that rental. Did you pay that tax?
We haven't done a tax filing as of this year yet, so we have not paid a tax on it.
I don't think you're quite understanding, but that's okay. We'll go on.
Anything further, Mr. Sinclair?
No.
All right, thank you. All right, I'm going to close the public testimony period. The next section will be for the board to discuss, but let's start with Mr. Hedrick and his question for Ms. Tremblay. So, Mr. Hedrick, do you want to repeat your question?
So the question is, if someone that is not living there, not related to the owner, rents the place, is the owner responsible?
So we have to determine, one, if the person who was cited operated the property as a vacation rental without a vacation rental certificate. So there needs to be that determination made. And then also you're looking at if you think that there was an agency relationship formed, perhaps between the person who operated and the owner. And you can look at that and determine that based on the city's testimony and the testimony of the appellant.
So
We're not for that dialogue, please.
yes,
Tremblay,
Mr.
that
Moses.
if it is an answer that wasn't listening to the presentation. Someone who was a personal friend, but had no interest in the property whatsoever, had no authority to do the act whatsoever, whether the owner can be held responsible for that act.
Right. So since I'm not making an argument on behalf of the city, I'm just supposed to tell you what the law says. So you're saying that the person who was cited was not actually operating the vacation rental without a vacation rental certificate. So that may be your determination based on the testimony.
Okay, we may come back with more.
Actually, I would like to ask, based on what we've just heard, I would like to ask a question of the appellant. So there was money that changed hands. who did the money go into your account? Where did the money go?
Went to his account, and he's been helping pay some bills here in LA.
Okay, so, okay, all right, thank you.
Yeah, and I'm not gonna go prosecute my friend because he was trying to help me out, because I'm literally like going day to day trying to keep my company afloat. But I was not aware, again, that my house, I'm listening to your Mr. Moses's comments, and I actually went to law school, never practiced. And the guy that got citation was not aware his property was even leased. So this would be a good case law back in law school. I don't think that I could actually get fined because I wasn't even aware my property was being leased, nor did I benefit from it. And now I'm having to pay to clean up the mess. And it's a great idea. I was always against leasing my house, but maybe that'll help me get from A to Z this year until I can get my product to market. So now I'm trying to make things work. And like I said, I've spent about, I would guess $15,000 getting everything up to check with what the guy in Palm Springs said we needed to do so that we passed inspection on the first inspection. So I guess that's where we're at. And I'm not going to go sue my friend for trying to help me out, but it is what it is. So.
All right, thank you. Okay, so we're going to close the public testimony. At this point, we'll open it up for board member discussion. I guess in this case, I'm going to go first, and that is that we have had many, many, many cases like this over the years where somebody put a property on a portal and rented it, whether the owner knew or not. The ordinance, while Jill is not making an argument for the city, the ordinance does hold the owner accountable. So, everything else to me becomes, unfortunately, kind of beside the point. I mean, this ordinance is very, very strict, and it is that way on purpose. And it's, we've talked about this over and over again, that the buck stops with the owner. We have had cases that we have upheld the fine and the ban when the owner, again, did not know that the property was being rented. So that's my 2 cents. Why don't we go in reverse order this time and go with Vice Chair Kane.
I don't have any comments. I'm very interested in listening to how this plays out.
All right, Mr. Sinclair,
No, nothing here.
Mr. Hedrick.
Yes, there is a relationship between Mr. Langley and John, but I personally, if, let's say I rented my house to you, Mr. Panessa, and I'm in Germany, and so I don't know what's going on with my home, and you turn it into a short-term rental, you're saying I'm responsible.
I'm not saying that. The ordinance says that.
So I would like to check that with our counsel, please. Ms. Tremblay?
Yes, so I think you're referring to the agency section. If that's the case, then you would have to determine whether there's an agency relationship between the owner and the person who says that he rented out the property. And then as far as the penalties section, it just says that any person who operates a vacation rental without a vacation rental certificate is liable to the city, and then the penalties will ensue. So you have to determine if the person who cited is the person that operated the vacation rental without a certificate, or, you know, if not, if there's some sort of agency relationship.
So based on that, in my mind, and again, I'm not voting tonight because I'm just an alternate. The person who should be cited is John, and the person who is fined should be John, because it was John that did that unbeknownst to Mr. Langley. That's my take.
Mr. Basili?
So I have a tough time wrapping my head around this because there's so many different sides to this, and I understand where the owner's coming from, but then I think about, well, he did give John access to the property, and John used the property as a rental. It's really hard to know whether or not there was communication between John and the owner in regards to what they were going to use this property for, and whether or not he even knew that the property is going to be rented. And going back to the city ordinances, we have our hands tied on this one. It's really hard because I know how I would vote, but that's only my opinion and has nothing to do with the ordinance. So it's a tough decision, and we've gone down this road many times regarding this exact issue. And it's really hard because I want to vote one way, but that's not the right way to vote. I have to go according to what the ordinance states. And so that's pretty much what I wanted to say.
All right, thank you. Mr. Moses?
I have to agree with Mr. Hendricks and disagree with Mr. Basili and with Mr. Panessa. I'm not aware of any case we've had where the owner was unaware of his agent renting the property, whether it was short-term or long-term. In every other case, there had been a proxy, or whether it was a lawyer or a friend or a real estate agent, but never have we had a case where, with no authority given, written or oral, a person comes out of the blue and tries to rent the place and violates the law. There is no way that we can hold Rick, whatever your name is, responsible. I want to add that when you're in bankruptcy, we probably can't even take this action without going to the bankruptcy court, but that's a separate issue. This is not a case where an agent who had the right to rent the property or even operate the property took the step of violating the law. You just can't hold this person responsible.
I mean, I think the person who should be fined and banned is John.
Well,
because that's the guy.
Maybe, but that's not up to us. But if John had acted with authority or with ownership, either one, we would be able to cite him, and maybe that would occur to everybody. But he doesn't have ownership, and he didn't have authority, and there is just no way you can hold the property owner responsible.
So I think I actually disagree with you. That we had a case, and we have had many. The one that jumps to mind is the case where the father owned the property and the son put it on Airbnb. I don't know if you remember that case. The father said he didn't know his son was doing that, and we upheld. So we have had many cases where that is exactly the same situation. Clearly, John had access to the house. I find it a little hard to accept that there was no communication, that this was all done in secret, if you will, regardless of who got the money. So the ordinance whether you agree with it or not, the ordinance holds the owner accountable, and that's why this citation was written to the owner.
His birthday is September 22nd, and I was trying to surprise him and help. So there was no communication, and Rick didn't know. So
Nor would I rent my house, especially
All right.
with I have
Thank you.
artwork where
Thank you. This is the time for the board to discuss. So please let us. Thank you.
The case you're referring to, where the son was handling the property for his father, didn't have specific authority to rent the property on any basis, but he had the authority and the responsibility for taking care of the property. This is different. This is a total third party.
That's not different. I think you're splitting hairs. These two, whatever the definition of their relationship is, these two are, they're not strangers. So where one have access to the property, I think you're splitting hairs.
Not splitting hairs. There's a total difference.
I don't see the difference.
I want to, I'm trained as a lawyer. I'm not practicing anymore, but I'll be glad to help. If we hold him liable, I will glad to join with him in doing whatever you have to do to get this overturned.
Well, that's your choice, but that's not under our purview.
Mike,
So
you're wrong. You're wrong in how you're assessing this, comparing these.
Jill, did you have something you wanted to add?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, let's just get back to the discussion of the case that we're reviewing tonight.
Okay, does somebody want to make a motion and a second?
I haven't
I
spoken.
move.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Sinclair, go ahead.
Well, I'm sitting there, I practiced for 42 years and I'm trying to get back and remember I didn't practice agency law. But as John knows and as Stephen knows, there are different ways that agencies can be created. And I don't know enough at this point in my life to know whether that's true. I think we need not to make inappropriate comments about supporting someone if they lose this appeal. I think that's really a very bad thing, Stephen, and is inappropriate. So I think we have had a lot of cases like this. And I'd like to have 2 or 3 minutes before we vote on what I'm going to think about going here. I think it is hard, but I do have trouble believing that there wasn't a relationship here that may have created an agency. I just don't know. But we have to look at the facts as they apply to the ordinance and to the case.
Thank you. Anything further from anyone on the board?
I'd like to make a motion. I would make the motion that we dismiss the citation, the appeal, and we uphold the appeal.
So you're moving to overturn the citation.
That's correct.
Is there a second? I don't see a second. I will make a motion to uphold the citation and the ban. Is there a second?
I don't want to say this, but I want to just propose potentially continuing, and I don't like to punt things, but maybe we need a little more education around agency, because I understand both sides, and I feel like this is a dangerous precedent in some capacities. So maybe it behooves us to do a little bit more research, because I feel like, I mean, this is a public hearing, and I'm afraid of opening some sort of loophole, and that concerns me. And so I don't know how everyone feels about that.
If that were a motion, I'd second it. That we postpone our decision until we've been better educated on agency.
Board Secretary, is that an option for us?
Who's the board secretary?
There's a motion on the floor that needs to be dealt with before another motion can be made.
I don't think that motion was seconded, so it kind of died.
Well, I'm going to second it just so we can get this, just so we can.
Sorry.
Mr. Sinclair, which motion are you seconding?
I'm seconding your motion.
All right, thank you. Board
people want-
Secretary, we have a motion and a seconded to uphold. Can you please
Discussion.
call the vote?
There's discussion. If people want to abstain or hold it off, now another motion can be made on top of that to continue the thing, but that motion needed to be dispensed with first, and I didn't want to stalemate while we sat here and did nothing.
Thank you.
Do we have to vote on that motion and second before we make another one?
No, we don't.
You can
That's a
offer a
primary
competing
motion.
motion.
That's a primary motion. There can be a secondary motion to continue the matter, as my understanding of Robert's
Yeah.
rules.
Vice Chair Kane, you can make a competing motion, which then, if seconded, gets a vote first.
Okay, then I'll make that motion to, I would say, continue to our next hearing and no later.
I'll second that motion.
All right, Board Secretary, can you call the vote on the motion to postpone a vote till next month?
Vice Chair Kane,
Aye.
Board Member Moses,
Aye.
Board Member Basili,
Aye.
Chair Panessa,
No.
Board Member Sinclair.
No,
It carries 3-2.
All right, so we are not taking a vote on this, and we will take a vote on this case at our next meeting at the towards the end of November. And then I would ask Jill if you can give us at that time some more definitive information about this whole agency issue.
you know, I would like to make one comment that this also runs to the facts and who we believe and the credibility of the witnesses. And I'm not sure that I believe all the testimony. Now, I think a couple of us do believe that, but I don't know that I do. And that will affect my vote when we finally get to this. But again, we've talked about this before, and Jill has mentioned it, or Jocelyn rather has mentioned it. We just can't apologize for things and tell people we're going to help them with appeals and that sort of thing. I think it's a really, really bad thing to do.
Did we lose our appellant?
Yes, we did, it looks like.
Yes, he's not in here.
That's interesting. Okay. Well, so I just think this will be helpful, honestly. I don't really know that I was leaning one way or another, frankly, but I do want some more clarity on agency because like I said, I am concerned that this might be some sort of weird loophole that then we're gonna open a little wider than I would like. So that's just my opinion. So hopefully, Jill, you can give us some clarity around this so we can move ahead, right, more intelligently, for my take anyway. I'm no lawyer, clearly.
All right, thank you. Jill, does that make sense? I think what we're asking for next month?
Yeah, no problem.
Thank you. All right, we will move on. The next section is set aside for general comments, announcements, requests of staff, and or other issues of interest from board members for the Administrative Appeals Board. Does anybody have anything?
I'd like to urge that we could, I'm not sure this is the right moment in this agenda,
This
that
is
we go back
exactly
into
the right
live personal meetings at City Hall. Other agencies and other entities are having live meetings and no longer fear COVID. And I think we would be better if we sat in the same room as much as possible.
Does anybody know why we haven't gone back to live when others have?
Pardon me?
So I'm on the airport commission and we were told that we have to wait until January.
Hmm.
So, I mean, the airport commission did have a off-site planning session in person. But our regular meetings are still on Zoom.
Okay, and I'll also add, like, I'm on the East Coast, and so this was really handy because I hate missing these meetings and I missed too many already, so I'm glad it's here. And I feel like we also get more engagement to a certain extent, right? Because people are all over the place, but until we've done, like, we can do sort of hybrids. I mean, I don't oppose at all meeting in person for sure, but I like the idea of an option just because we all do things, right? So.
And per the city clerk, I just spoke to her, she did advise that the mayor and city manager had that conversation and we are able to do in person now.
Oh, so I stand corrected.
So does that mean our next meeting will be in person?
We have to, I almost vote on that one. I'd be in favor. No, you
We can
don't.
do a hybrid.
That's-
so that-
I'll do it.
That's up to the city. That is not something we vote on.
Okay, that's fine.
And we do a hybrid, so Ms. Kane can come.
I'll be around next month because it's like holidays, right?
Oh,
So
okay, all right.
it's all about me, it's all about me all the time.
Yeah, I've never met Mr. Vasili live, and that would be nice.
Oh,
That is actually true. I didn't realize that. We have actually never been in the same room with him.
No.
Okay, and then I just want to make sure, Cassie, for the next month's agenda, my understanding is that we don't rehear the case, but Ms. Tremblay will give us kind of an overview or an answer, more information about this whole agency issue and how it relates to the ordinance, and then we will vote on this case. Is that correct?
Sounds good.
Yes.
Thank you, Cassie.
And Mike, I apologize if I offended you in there.
You did not offend me. Don't worry, I'm not that easily offended. I will tell you though, from my perspective, not chair, it's just my personal. I think one of the things this board has got to keep in mind is we have got to be consistent. And we have, to my recollection, we have probably had half a dozen cases of the similar facts that we have upheld. And so I have this concern that if somebody is presenting a very sympathetic case, the drive is to find a way to overturn, and then we're not being fair to the people we have upheld it with. And there have been lots of them that we have upheld. And so that's my concern. I am absolutely not offended. I don't offend that easily, so.
I would agree with you that we want, and we have been consistent, and I want on the record that we actually have been very consistent. But
Mhm.
when something comes up, right, that just makes us pause, I think it's worthwhile to take a beat and find out some more information. It may not change the outcome, but it might. So I just really appreciate you guys like allowing that, because while we want to be fair and transparent and consistent, I still want to be fair and I want to know what I'm voting on. I just don't want to mumble through because I'm not a trained attorney and we're volunteer board members trying to do the best that we can with what we have.
Absolutely, I agree.
Vanessa.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, I received an email from Rick Langley. He said that their internet was cut off and they've been trying to log back in.
Oh, he got in. He's right here. So we
Just-
might have to tell him what happened,
Yeah.
Mike.
As soon as he, so Rick, it looks like you just got back in. So.
Yeah,
I
the
don't-
internet
I
cut
don't-
off.
Okay,
Internet
Not a
cut
problem.
off. I apologize. I've been
I-
trying to get in the whole time.
Okay, not a problem. I just want to let you know what happened. So we had a couple of motions. We actually had three. The third motion was to postpone a decision until next month, at which time the city attorney will give us some more information about the subject that was brought up about agency and how it relates to the ordinance. So bottom line is there was not a decision made. We will make a decision next month. We will not rehear the case. The city attorney will give us a little bit of an education and then we will vote. Okay.
Can I clarify from the conversation that I heard? I do not, I don't see the other gentleman up there. He's Mr. Sinclair, I think. I don't have a agency relationship. I don't have a fee
All right,
paying
let's
agreement
not, we're,
or
no,
anything.
we're not gonna,
with
we're not
that
having
gentleman.
testimony now. That part is done. So
And
I just
Mr.
want to let you
Moses, I
know what is
appreciate your
happening.
support on that.
Thank you. So
Okay.
I just want to let you know that we will vote on this case at our next meeting towards the end of November. There was a motion to postpone pending some education from the city attorney. We will hopefully start with that at the next meeting, and we will then take a vote. Okay?
I'd like to make a motion that I think we all can adopt. I make a
Yeah.
motion to adjourn.
No,
At very end.
we still have more of the agenda, but thank you.
Yeah,
All right, the next item on the agenda is time set aside for the city attorney to update the board on important matters initiated by staff or previously requested by the board. Ms. Tremblay, do you have anything to report to the board?
No, I don't have any updates.
All right, thank you. And then the final item on the agenda is time set aside for the city clerk to update the Administrative Appeals Board on important items initiated by staff or previously requested by the board.
I don't have anything to update. However, next meeting, we will have quite a few sets of meetings to approve.
Oh, of meeting minutes.
Sorry, minutes. Yes.
Thank
meeting
you.
minutes.
Okay, and then Cassie, I do have a request. So if the vote on this case can be put as the first thing after public comment on the agenda.
You got it.
Michael, the other thing that we need to, if my memory serves me right, this Wednesday will also be the day before Thanksgiving. And my memory says that we had our meeting a week earlier last year. Now, if that's not, I'm fine coming at our regular meeting time on Wednesday before Thanksgiving. But I think we should at least be aware of that in case people aren't in town.
I think it's the
Wednesday.
30th.
Yeah, I think it actually is the week later. It's the 30th. I believe that's right, because I'm gone that week and I know I put it on my calendar and I was not gone. So I believe it's the 30th.
I thought it was the fourth Wednesday, but it's the last Wednesday.
I believe that's correct.
Correct. Yes, November 30th.
Thank you. But thank you for bringing that up, Mr. Sinclair.
Sure.
All right. If nobody else has anything, the motion to adjourn, Mr. Moses.
It's so made.
Anybody want a second?
Doesn't need a second.
All right. Thank you. Everybody, thank you for your time and effort.
Thank you.
Have a good Thanksgiving, and we will see you next month.
Thanksgiving is my 88th birthday, by the way.
Oh my gosh.
Congratulations.
Yeah.